We often think of confidence as something we must chase, a quality we must acquire, much like a prize at the end of a long and uncertain journey. Yet, what if the essence of confidence was not out there in the world to be grasped, but instead something ever present within us, waiting to be realized? At its core, true confidence is not a show we put on for others, nor is it a mask we wear to hide insecurities. It arises from an intimate understanding of the self, a deep acceptance of who we are, with all our imperfections and complexities. To build unstoppable confidence, we must first shed the layers of self-judgment and societal expectations that obscure our view of who we truly are. Consider fear, the great illusion that so often stands in our way. It whispers that we are not enough, that failure is fatal, that judgment is inevitable. But what is fear really? It is a projection, a shadow cast by our minds onto a future that does not yet exist. When you see fear for what it truly is, a trick of the mind, you begin to navigate through life with a clarity that cannot be shaken. We must also remember that life is a river of constant change. Everything we experience, from our moments of triumph to our moments of despair, is fleeting. When you embrace impermanence, you recognize that neither success nor failure defines you. Instead, you are defined by your ability to move through life with grace, accepting both as part of the dance. Confidence grows not in the certainty of outcome, but in the certainty of self, knowing that you will remain whole no matter the external circumstances. When we detach from the need for specific outcomes, when we no longer base our worth on the approval of others or the attainment of particular goals, we are free. Free to live in the present moment with all its richness. Free to trust the unfolding of our lives. And in that freedom, we find a confidence that cannot be shaken, for it is grounded not in external achievement, but in the deep inner knowing that we are enough as we are. To be unstoppable, we must also align with our true nature. We are not here to imitate others, nor to follow paths laid out by those who do not know our journey. When your actions flow from your authentic self, confidence becomes a natural byproduct. It is the quiet assurance that you are walking your own path, regardless of the noise of the world around you. And in this present moment, the only place where life truly happens, we find the greatest source of our strength. To be fully present is to let go of the past and release the future, grounding ourselves in the now. It is in this space of presence that confidence emerges naturally, for when we are here, fully aware and fully engaged, doubt has no room to exist. But let us not fear failure, for it is an essential part of growth. Each stumble, each mistake is not a step backward, but a step toward deeper understanding. True confidence is built not in avoiding failure, but in embracing it, knowing that every fall is an opportunity to rise higher. The more you fail, the more resilient you become, and the more unstoppable your confidence grows. Lastly, be kind to yourself. Treat yourself with the same compassion and understanding that you would offer a dear friend. Forgive yourself for past mistakes and trust in the unfolding of your journey. For in the softness of self-compassion lies an unbreakable strength. The confidence to move forward, not in perfection, but in the ever-evolving dance of life. This is how we build unstoppable confidence, not by striving to be someone else, not by chasing external validation, but by realizing that everything we need is already within us. Trust that. Believe that. And you will find that your confidence knows no bounds. True confidence is a state of being that comes from within, not something we gain from external sources or achievements. It isn't about projecting an image of strength or certainty to others. Rather, it's about knowing yourself deeply and accepting all aspects of who you are. Confidence in its purest form is the quiet assurance that you are enough, regardless of circumstances or opinions. Many people believe confidence is tied to success, talent, or the approval of others. We often think, if only I achieve this goal, or if others see me a certain way, then I will feel confident. But this perspective makes confidence fragile, as it becomes dependent on things outside of ourselves, things that can change or disappear at any moment. True confidence, however, is not swayed by such factors. It is rooted in self-awareness. The understanding that your worth is not determined by how others perceive you or by the outcomes you achieve. When you truly know yourself, your strengths, weaknesses, desires, and fears, you are no longer seeking validation from the outside world. Instead, you realize that your value is intrinsic, not something to be earned or proven. This kind of confidence is unshakable because it is grounded in reality, in the full acceptance of who you are right now, not in an idealized version of who you think you should be. To cultivate true confidence, one must first practice self-awareness and self-compassion. It means looking at yourself honestly without judgment or harsh criticism and embracing both your light and your shadow. It's the ability to say, I am not perfect, but I am enough. This mindset frees you from the constant pressure to measure up to societal standards or to be someone other than who you are. When you embody this inner confidence, you carry yourself differently in the world. You stop worrying about how others perceive you, and you no longer need to prove your worth through accomplishments. Instead, you become more present, more open, and more authentic in your interactions. And from this space of self-assurance, you can engage with life more fully, take risks, and pursue your passions without the fear of failure holding you back. In essence, true confidence is about being grounded in yourself. It's about embracing the uniqueness of your journey, knowing that you are enough as you are, and trusting that whatever happens, you have the strength to handle it. When you come from this place, confidence becomes a natural expression of your being, not something you force, but something that flows effortlessly from the depths of your inner peace. Fear is one of the most pervasive and persistent emotions we experience, and yet it is often misunderstood. At its core, fear is a mental construct, a projection of our mind onto the unknown. We tend to see it as something real, something that must be overcome or fought against, but in truth, fear is largely an illusion. It is a shadow cast by our thoughts, growing larger the more we feed it, yet dissipating the moment we shine the light of awareness on it. Fear operates by preying on uncertainty. It thrives in the spaces where we lack control or clarity, spinning narratives about what might happen. These stories our minds create are filled with worst-case scenarios, conjuring up outcomes that haven't occurred and may never come to pass. We fear failure before we've even tried, rejection before we've spoken a word, and loss before anything has been risked. But in reality, these fears are based on hypotheticals, not facts. The mind projects them into the future, often blurring the line between possibility and inevitability. This is the trick of fear. It convinces us that what we imagine is already happening or certain to occur. When we recognize that fear is merely a product of our thoughts, we begin to see through its illusion. It's important to understand that fear, in most cases, is not based on immediate danger. In the past, fear had an evolutionary purpose, alerting us to physical threats and ensuring our survival. Today, however, many of the fears we experience are psychological rather than physical. They stem from our concern about how we will be perceived, whether we will succeed, or if we will experience emotional pain. Yet none of these are actual dangers in the present moment. They are anticipations of possible discomfort in the future. Fear becomes debilitating when we allow it to control our actions, or more accurately, our inactions. It holds us back from stepping into the unknown, from taking risks, from embracing new opportunities. We avoid the very things that could lead to growth, happiness, or fulfillment because of the stories fear tells us. But when we pause and examine the nature of fear, we realize it has no true substance. The future is uncertain, yes, but it is also full of potential. The fear that tries to bind us to inaction is not protecting us, it is limiting us. To dissolve the illusion of fear, we must cultivate presence. Fear cannot exist in the present moment because it feeds on the unknowns of the future. When you bring your awareness back to the here and now, you strip fear of its power. In this moment, ask yourself, what is truly threatening me right now? Often, you will find that the answer is nothing. You are safe in the present moment, and the future, while uncertain, is not predetermined by your fears. It is also helpful to remember that fear is often a signpost. It points to the edges of our comfort zones, the boundaries beyond which growth lies. What we fear most is often what we need to face in order to expand. When we run from fear, we remain confined by it. But when we confront it, when we see it for what it truly is, it loses its hold on us. The act of stepping toward fear rather than away from it is the key to dissolving its illusion. Another crucial element in dismantling fear is understanding that failure, one of our greatest fears, is not as catastrophic as we imagine. Fear tells us that failure is final, that it defines us, but this is another part of the illusion. Failure is a natural part of life, a stepping stone on the path to success and self-discovery. It is not something to be feared, but something to be embraced. Each time we fail, we learn, adapt, and grow stronger. Fear would have us believe that failure is the end, but in truth, it is often the beginning of a new and better chapter. Ultimately, the illusion of fear fades when we learn to trust ourselves and the flow of life. Fear arises from the need to control, to predict, to secure a certain outcome. But life is inherently uncertain, and this uncertainty is not something to fear, it is something to embrace. When you trust in your ability to navigate whatever comes your way, fear loses its grip. You realize that no matter what the future holds, you will meet it with strength, resilience, and wisdom. In the end, fear is not a force that we need to conquer or vanquish. It is a reminder to return to the present, to trust ourselves, and to recognize the stories our minds create for what they are, just stories, not truths. And when we see fear for what it is, we free ourselves from its illusion, allowing us to move forward with clarity, courage, and confidence. Life is a continuous flow, ever-changing and unpredictable. And at the heart of this flow lies the concept of impermanence. Everything in existence, our thoughts, emotions, relationships, successes, and failures, is transient. To embrace impermanence is to understand that nothing remains fixed, and in doing so, we find the freedom to live fully in each moment without being bound by the fear of loss or the desire for permanence. One of the greatest sources of suffering arises from our attachment to things remaining the same. We cling to what we enjoy and resist what brings discomfort, hoping that the good times will last forever and that the painful moments will never come. But this desire for permanence is fundamentally at odds with the nature of reality. Life moves in cycles. Everything is in a state of becoming and dissolving, growing and fading. By resisting this flow, we create tension within ourselves, trying to hold on to something that is destined to change. Embracing impermanence does not mean we should live in a state of indifference or detachment from the world. Quite the opposite, it invites us to engage with life more deeply, to appreciate the beauty in fleeting moments, and to find meaning in the transient nature of our experiences. When we acknowledge that everything we cherish is temporary, we can cherish it all the more. The fleeting nature of life makes each moment precious, each interaction meaningful. We begin to realize that the present moment in all its imperfection is where life truly happens. Impermanence also teaches us resilience. Because nothing lasts forever, we can take comfort in knowing that our difficulties, challenges, and sorrows are also temporary. The pain we feel today will not remain with us forever. The heartache, the disappointment, the failure, they will pass, just as everything else does. This awareness brings a sense of peace even in the midst of struggle, because we recognize that life is fluid and no state, whether joy or sorrow, is permanent. In this understanding, we learn not to fear change, but to flow with it, trusting that each phase of life will give way to the next. This acceptance of impermanence allows us to live with greater ease, because we no longer fight against the inevitable. We become less attached to outcomes and more present in the process of life itself. We stop trying to control every aspect of our existence, and instead we learn to trust in the natural unfolding of events. When we let go of the need for permanence, we become more adaptable, more open to the opportunities that arise from change, and less fearful of the unknown. We realize that change is not something to dread, but something that offers us the chance to grow and evolve. Our personal identities are also subject to impermanence. Who we are today is not who we were years ago, nor who we will be in the future. We are in a constant state of transformation, shaped by our experiences, our thoughts, and our choices. This is a liberating truth, because it means we are not bound by our past selves. We can shed old identities, beliefs, and habits that no longer serve us, and embrace the opportunity to become something new. In recognizing that we are ever changing, we free ourselves from the rigid notions of self that can trap us in limiting patterns of behavior. Impermanence extends to everything we interact with in life. Our relationships with others, for example, are always in flux. People grow, change, and sometimes move out of our lives. Rather than seeing this as a source of sorrow, we can view it as a natural part of the human experience. When we embrace the impermanence of relationships, we learn to appreciate the time we have with others, to love them without trying to possess them, and to understand that change is not a loss but an evolution. This mindset allows us to release the fear of losing people and instead celebrate the moments we share with them. Even our accomplishments and failures are part of this impermanent flow. Success, no matter how grand, will eventually fade, just as failure is not a permanent state. When we accept this, we stop tying our sense of self-worth to external outcomes. We recognize that achievements are milestones in our journey, not the final destination, and that setbacks are temporary challenges, not defining moments. Embracing impermanence helps us navigate both success and failure with grace, understanding that neither will last forever, and that our value lies not in these fleeting moments, but in the way we live through them. At its core, embracing impermanence is about living in harmony with the nature of existence. It is about letting go of the futile quest for permanence in a world that is constantly in motion. When we stop resisting change, we stop suffering unnecessarily. We begin to see life as a dance where each moment is to be experienced fully without attachment to the next step. In doing so, we cultivate a deep sense of peace, knowing that everything in life, from our highest joys to our deepest sorrows, is part of a greater cycle, ever changing, ever evolving, and ultimately beyond our control. This acceptance of impermanence does not diminish the value of life, rather it enhances it. It reminds us that the only constant is change, and within that change lies the beauty of being alive. By embracing this truth, we liberate ourselves from the fear of loss and the anxiety of the future, and we open ourselves to the richness of each passing moment. Detaching from outcomes is a practice that requires a shift in perspective, one that allows us to release our grip on specific results and focus instead on the process of life. We often live in a state of attachment, believing that our happiness, worth, or success is dependent on achieving certain goals or outcomes. We become fixated on the end result, whether it's a promotion, a relationship, or a personal achievement, thinking that once we reach that point, we will finally be fulfilled. But in reality, this attachment creates a cycle of tension, fear, and anxiety. When we tie our sense of self to a specific outcome, we limit our ability to experience the present moment and lose sight of the deeper purpose of our actions. Detaching from outcomes doesn't mean that we should stop caring or striving for our goals. It's not about abandoning our ambitions or losing interest in what we do. Rather, it means that we stop defining ourselves by whether or not we succeed in achieving those goals. It's about letting go of the need to control the future and embracing the understanding that while we can influence certain aspects of our lives, we cannot control every outcome. This realization brings a sense of freedom from the pressure to make everything turn out exactly as we hope, and freedom to live more fully in the present. One of the key aspects of detaching from outcomes is trusting in the process. Life is unpredictable, and despite our best efforts, things may not always go as planned. When we are overly attached to a specific result, we become vulnerable to disappointment and frustration. We begin to equate our value with success, and failure becomes something to fear rather than a natural part of growth. By shifting our focus from the outcome to the process, we allow ourselves to engage fully in the present, putting our energy into each step we take rather than worrying about where it will lead. This shift in perspective can be deeply transformative. When we detach from outcomes, we stop being driven by external rewards or validation. Instead, we find meaning in the actions themselves, in the effort we put in the learning that comes from challenges, and in the personal growth that happens along the way. By embracing this mindset, we become more resilient, more adaptable, and less affected by the fluctuations of success and failure. Detaching from outcomes also brings us closer to the essence of what it means to live authentically. When we are no longer focused on achieving a particular result, we can act from a place of inner alignment. Our actions become less about proving something to the world and more about expressing who we truly are. We stop being driven by the need for approval, recognition, or validation from others, and instead, we move through life guided by our own values and purpose. In this way, detachment fosters a deeper connection to ourselves and allows us to live more authentically. Moreover, when we let go of our attachment to outcomes, we open ourselves up to possibilities we might not have considered. Often we become so focused on a specific result that we fail to see the other opportunities that life presents. We may cling to a particular vision of how things should unfold, not realizing that there are other paths that could bring us just as much fulfillment, if not more. By releasing our need to control the future, we allow life to unfold naturally, trusting that whatever happens will ultimately be for our growth and benefit, even if it doesn't align with our original expectations. Another important aspect of detachment is understanding that we are not defined by our successes or failures. Society often equates achievement with worth, but true self-worth comes from within, not from external accomplishments. When we detach from outcomes, we free ourselves from this external metric of success. We recognize that our value is inherent, not dependent on whether or not we achieve a certain goal. This understanding helps us to face challenges with greater ease, knowing that whether we succeed or fail, we remain whole and worthy. Detaching from outcomes also helps us cultivate patience. When we are attached to a specific result, we often become impatient, eager for things to turn out as we want, and frustrated when progress seems slow. But life moves at its own pace, and sometimes the most meaningful things take time. By letting go of our attachment to how things should happen, we allow ourselves to move with the natural flow of life. We learn to trust in the timing of our journey, understanding that everything unfolds as it should, in its own time. Ultimately, detaching from outcomes allows us to live with greater peace. It reduces the anxiety and stress that come from trying to control the uncontrollable. When we let go of our attachment to specific results, we can experience life more fully with a sense of openness and curiosity. We become less focused on what we might gain or lose and more focused on the present moment, the only moment in which life truly exists. This presence brings a sense of calm as we are no longer caught in the cycle of constantly reaching for something outside of ourselves. In the end, detachment from outcomes is about surrendering to life's flow, trusting that no matter what happens, we are capable of navigating it with grace. It is about finding joy in the journey itself rather than in the destination, and knowing that our true value lies not in what we achieve, but in how we show up in each moment of our lives. To align with your inner nature is to come into harmony with the essence of who you truly are, beyond the layers of conditioning, expectations, and societal pressures. It means reconnecting with that core part of yourself that remains unchanged by external influences, the part of you that is authentic, wise, and deeply intuitive. This process is not about becoming someone new. It is about remembering and returning to the self that has always been present, but often forgotten or obscured. From a young age, we are shaped by the world around us. We are taught what is acceptable, what is desirable, and how we should behave in order to fit into society. These teachings, while necessary for functioning in a community, can sometimes cause us to drift away from our true selves. We learn to prioritize external validation over internal guidance, to chase after success as it is defined by others, and to conform to roles that may not feel natural to us. Over time, we may lose sight of what we genuinely want, need, or believe. This disconnection from our inner nature creates a sense of unease, a feeling that something is missing, even when we have achieved what we thought we were supposed to. To realign with your inner nature, the first step is self-awareness. This involves taking the time to quiet the noise of the external world and listen to the still, small voice within. In this space of introspection, we can begin to discern the difference between the desires and aspirations that come from our true self and those that have been imposed upon us by others. It requires a willingness to sit with ourselves honestly and reflect on the choices we've made, the paths we've taken, and the motivations behind them. Are we living in alignment with our deepest values, or are we merely following a script handed to us by society? In reconnecting with our inner nature, we also recognize that each of us is unique with our own inherent qualities, strengths, and gifts. Society often pushes us toward a narrow definition of success or happiness, but when we align with our inner nature, we come to understand that there is no single path for everyone. What brings fulfillment to one person may not resonate with another, and that's perfectly fine. True fulfillment comes from living in accordance with who we are, not who we are told to be. This requires the courage to embrace our individuality, to honor our own rhythm and direction in life, rather than comparing ourselves to others or adhering to external standards. An essential part of aligning with your inner nature is learning to trust yourself. This means trusting your intuition, your instincts, and your inner knowing, even when they run counter to conventional wisdom or the expectations of those around you. Too often, we second-guess ourselves, doubting our own ability to make the right choices. But your inner nature is deeply wise. It knows what is best for you, even when your rational mind or external voices try to convince you otherwise. When you trust in your inner guidance, you allow yourself to be led by a force that is in tune with the natural flow of your life, rather than forcing yourself down a path that doesn't feel right. This alignment with your inner nature also involves a process of letting go of the need to please others, to meet external expectations or dictations, or to live up to an image that isn't truly yours. It means releasing the masks we wear to fit in or to be accepted, and embracing the vulnerability of showing up as our true selves. This can be challenging, especially in a world that often rewards conformity and penalizes authenticity. But the rewards of living in alignment with your inner nature far outweigh the discomfort of stepping outside of societal norms. When we live authentically, we experience a sense of ease and flow, as though we are moving in sync with life rather than struggling against it. Another aspect of aligning with your inner nature is cultivating a deep sense of self-compassion. As we reconnect with our true selves, we must also acknowledge and accept the parts of ourselves that we may have judged or rejected. No one is perfect, and our inner nature includes both light and shadow. To live in alignment with ourselves, we must embrace all aspects of who we are: the strengths, the vulnerabilities, the triumphs, and the mistakes. This kind of self-acceptance creates an inner harmony that allows us to move through life with greater confidence and clarity. When we are aligned with our inner nature, our actions flow from a place of authenticity and purpose. We no longer feel the need to force things to happen or to manipulate circumstances in order to achieve a certain outcome. Instead, we trust that when we live in harmony with who we are, the right opportunities will present themselves and life will unfold in ways that support our growth and well-being. This doesn't mean that challenges or difficulties won't arise, but it does mean that we will face them with a sense of inner peace and resilience, knowing that we are staying true to ourselves. Aligning with your inner nature also has a profound impact on your relationships. When you live authentically, you naturally attract people who resonate with your true self, rather than those who are drawn to a false persona. This leads to deeper, more meaningful connections based on mutual respect and understanding. When you are aligned with yourself, you no longer feel the need to mold yourself to fit others' expectations, and this frees you to engage in relationships from a place of honesty and openness. In essence, aligning with your inner nature is about coming home to yourself. It is a journey of self-discovery, self-trust, and self-acceptance. It is about recognizing that you are already whole, that you have everything you need within you, and that the answers you seek are not found outside, but within. When you live in alignment with your inner nature, life becomes less about striving and more about flowing. You move through the world with a sense of purpose, clarity, and ease, knowing that you are walking the path that is uniquely yours. Present awareness, or the ability to be fully engaged in the here and now, is one of the most powerful forces available to us. In a world that constantly pulls us into the future with its anxieties and into the past with its regrets, learning to be present is both a radical and transformative act. It is in the present moment that life truly happens, and yet so often we miss it. Our minds are frequently distracted, racing ahead to plan or ruminating on what has already passed, leaving us disconnected from the richness of what is unfolding right before us. The power of present awareness lies in its simplicity. When we are fully present, we are not bound by the narratives of our past or the uncertainties of the future. In this state, there is a profound sense of freedom. We stop being ruled by the endless chatter of our minds, which is always trying to pull us out of the now. Instead, we experience a deep sense of stillness and clarity, as though we are seeing the world for the first time without the filter of judgment or expectation. Present awareness allows us to experience life as it truly is, not as we wish it to be. So much of our suffering comes from the gap between reality and the stories we tell ourselves about how things should be. We resist what is happening in the present because we are attached to a different outcome, one that either hasn't happened yet or one we wish could have been different. But when we embrace the present moment fully, we let go of these mental battles. We stop fighting against the flow of life, and in doing so, we find peace. This peace is not the absence of difficulty or challenge, but the acceptance of what is exactly as it is. Being present also opens the door to greater joy and fulfillment. When we are truly aware, even the simplest experiences become profound. The feel of the sun on your skin, the taste of your morning coffee, or the sound of the wind in the trees, all of these moments, when experienced fully, are rich with meaning. The mundane becomes extraordinary when we are fully present for it. Instead of constantly seeking happiness in the future, believing that we will be happy once we achieve this or that goal, we realize that joy is available to us in every moment, if only we are awake enough to notice it. Present awareness also enhances our relationships. When we are with others, being fully present allows us to connect with them on a deeper level. So often we are physically present but mentally elsewhere, thinking about our next task or replaying a past conversation. But when we bring our full attention to those we interact with, we create a space of openness and connection. People feel truly seen and heard when we are fully present with them, and this creates the foundation for more meaningful and authentic relationships. Moreover, present awareness helps us navigate challenges with greater ease. Life is full of uncertainties and difficulties, and our minds often magnify these by projecting them into the future. We worry about what might happen, creating scenarios in our heads that increase our stress and anxiety. But the truth is, much of what we fear never comes to pass, and even when it does, it is rarely as catastrophic as we imagine. By staying present, we learn to deal with life one moment at a time. We focus on the task at hand rather than being overwhelmed by the entire journey ahead. This reduces our anxiety and helps us approach challenges with greater calm and clarity. In moments of crisis or difficulty, present awareness becomes a lifeline. When we are present, we are grounded. We are no longer swept away by the storm of our emotions or the turbulence of our thoughts. Instead, we can observe these inner experiences without being controlled by them. We learn that emotions, like all things, are impermanent. They arise and pass, and when we stay present, we allow them to move through us without becoming entangled in them. This ability to witness our emotions without getting lost in them is a powerful tool for maintaining inner balance, especially in times of stress. Another profound aspect of present awareness is that it brings us closer to our true selves. In the present moment, there is no room for the masks we wear or the roles we play. We are simply ourselves without the layers of identity that we often build up over time. This allows us to connect with our deeper nature, the part of us that exists beyond the labels, judgments, and expectations we or others have placed upon us. In this space of presence, we experience a sense of authenticity and wholeness that is often lost in the busyness of daily life. The practice of present awareness also cultivates gratitude. When we are fully present, we begin to notice all the small blessings that are often overlooked. We start to appreciate the beauty and wonder in the world around us, in the people we meet, and in the experiences we have. Gratitude naturally arises when we are present because we are no longer caught in the mental game of wanting more or wishing things were different. Instead, we see what is and recognize its inherent value. This shift in perspective from lack to abundance is one of the most powerful effects of living in the present. Present awareness is not something that can be forced or achieved through willpower alone. It is a practice, one that requires patience and gentle attention. In a world that constantly demands our attention, staying present can feel challenging. Our minds are trained to wander, to seek distraction, and to avoid stillness. But with practice, we can train ourselves to return to the present moment again and again. Whether it's through mindfulness, meditation, or simply bringing our attention back to our breath throughout the day, each time we practice present awareness, we strengthen our ability to remain grounded in the now. Ultimately, the power of present awareness is the power to live life more fully. When we are present, we are no longer chasing after the future or trapped in the past. We are here, alive in the moment, experiencing life in its fullest expression. This is where true peace, joy, and fulfillment reside, not in some distant goal or future achievement, but in the simple, ever-unfolding present. And the more we practice staying present, the more we realize that this moment right now is enough. It is complete. It is life itself. Failure, often viewed as a negative outcome, holds a transformative power that can propel us toward growth and deeper understanding. In a culture that tends to celebrate success and shun failure, it's easy to see setbacks as signs of weakness or inadequacy. However, when we shift our perspective and embrace failure as a natural part of the human experience, we can unlock its potential as a valuable teacher. Failure is not the end of a journey, rather it is a crucial stepping stone that can lead us to new insights, resilience, and ultimately, success. At its core, failure serves as a mirror, reflecting back to us the areas where we need to learn and grow. When we experience a setback, it provides an opportunity to pause and reflect on what went wrong. This introspection allows us to analyze our decisions, behaviors, and strategies, helping us identify patterns or habits that may need adjustment. Instead of viewing failure as a personal indictment, we can approach it as a form of feedback, a chance to reassess our approach and refine our methods. This process of reflection is essential for personal development as it encourages us to cultivate a mindset of continuous learning. Moreover, failure teaches us resilience. Each time we encounter a setback, we are given the chance to rise again, to gather our strength, and to persist despite adversity. Resilience is not the absence of difficulty, but the ability to navigate challenges with courage and determination. Through the experience of failure, we learn that setbacks do not define us, rather, it is our response to these setbacks that shapes our character. Embracing failure helps us build emotional strength and a sense of agency, empowering us to take risks and pursue our goals with renewed vigor. In addition to fostering resilience, failure can deepen our empathy and understanding of others. When we experience our own struggles, we develop a greater capacity for compassion toward those who face their own challenges. This shared experience of vulnerability can strengthen our connections with others, fostering a sense of community and support. We come to recognize that everyone experiences failure at some point in their lives, and this shared humanity can create a bond that transcends our individual experiences. By embracing our failures, we not only grow personally, but also become more understanding and supportive of those around us. Failure also encourages creativity and innovation. In a world where success is often prioritized, the fear of failure can stifle our willingness to explore new ideas and take risks. However, when we reframe failure as a valuable learning experience, we open ourselves up to experimentation and creativity. The great innovators and pioneers of history often face countless failures before achieving their breakthroughs. By allowing ourselves the freedom to fail, we give ourselves permission to think outside the box, to explore uncharted territory, and to pursue our passions with authenticity. This creative spirit is essential for growth and progress in all areas of life, from personal endeavors to professional pursuits. Furthermore, failure teaches us the importance of patience and persistence. The journey of growth is rarely linear. It is filled with ups and downs, successes and setbacks. Learning to embrace failure requires us to cultivate patience with ourselves in the process. It reminds us that growth takes time and that we often need to navigate a winding path before we reach our destination. This understanding helps us develop a more compassionate relationship with ourselves, allowing us to honor our efforts regardless of the outcome. Each step we take, each failure we encounter brings us closer to our goals, even if we cannot see the immediate results. Importantly, failure invites us to reassess our definitions of success. In a society that often equates success with external validation, achievements, accolades, and material wealth, we can become disconnected from our authentic desires and aspirations. Failure prompts us to reconsider what truly matters to us. It encourages us to explore our intrinsic motivations, values, and passions, leading us to a more authentic definition of success that aligns with who we are at our core. By allowing ourselves to redefine success on our own terms, we become more resilient to the pressures and expectations of the outside world. To fully harness the power of failure, we must also learn to let go of the stigma associated with it. This requires a cultural shift in how we perceive failure, both individually and collectively. By fostering environments that celebrate learning through failure, whether in educational settings, workplaces, or personal relationships, we create spaces where individuals feel safe to take risks and pursue their aspirations without fear of judgment. When we normalize failure as a natural part of the growth process, we empower ourselves and others to embrace challenges with confidence and curiosity. Ultimately, embracing failure as a tool for growth is a journey of self-discovery and empowerment. It invites us to step outside our comfort zones, take risks, and engage with life fully. When we learn to see failure not as an endpoint, but as a crucial part of our evolution, we unlock the door to new possibilities. We become more resilient, empathetic, and creative individuals, capable of navigating the complexities of life with grace and authenticity. In this light, failure is not something to be feared or avoided. It is an integral part of the human experience. It teaches us invaluable lessons, shapes our character, and ultimately guides us toward our true potential. By embracing failure, we embark on a path of continual growth, understanding that each setback brings us closer to our true selves and our most meaningful achievements. In this way, failure becomes not just a part of our journey, but a powerful ally in our quest for self-discovery and fulfillment. In conclusion, the journey to building unstoppable confidence is not a destination, but an ongoing process of self-discovery, growth, and alignment with our true selves. It begins with understanding that confidence comes from within, rooted in present awareness and the willingness to embrace impermanence. By detaching from rigid outcomes and learning to trust in the flow of life, we cultivate an inner strength that is resilient and authentic. Failure, often misunderstood as defeat, becomes our greatest tool for growth, offering invaluable lessons and helping us build resilience and creativity. As we align with our inner nature, we discover the unique path meant for us, free from societal pressures and external expectations. Present awareness anchors us in the now, reminding us that life unfolds moment by moment, and in each of these moments we have the power to choose our response with clarity and grace. Unstoppable confidence is not about never falling. It is about knowing that every setback is a stepping stone, every failure an opportunity to grow. When we learn to embrace ourselves fully, live in harmony with our true nature, and face challenges with open curiosity, we unlock a wellspring of confidence that carries us forward with purpose and peace. This is the essence of true confidence, unshakable, unforced, and ever present. Thank you, everyone.